have a question from Melanie at Devenishgirl. She runs a social enterprise who run fantastic programs for young women with mental health issues. She's been going for 6 years now, or 5 years, and she feels like she's past the startup phase, but hasn't quite reached the phase where she's starting to scale, and she's interested in where you can go for finance or how you can fund your social enterprise where you're in this space. It's a really difficult question because grant funding has become much more competitive to get. And also the kind of scale-up phase is where you have a business model that you've tested, you've tried, you've got some level of success, maybe you're making a profit, maybe it's just working the way that you want it to work, and you just need some capital to help you to take that to the next level, whether that's to fund new space or new people to help you to grow. Those are two kind of areas where you do find finance quite easily. Getting around that problem, I think it's a difficult thing to do, but what Miss Macaroon have done, although we've had our startup phase and tested most of our products and projects, we still feel like there's a lot of way to go in our growth. So we set up new projects for training young people in a slightly innovative way, getting to parts of the community that we haven't previously been able to get to. So actually, although Miss Macaroon is 8 years old, we've put grant applications in to test a pilot project. Because it's working with a slightly different group in a quite a different way, we've put a grant application in to fund the first year pilot of that project. So I think a way to keep testing what you're doing, because I know your training programs have considerably changed over the last 5 years, is to keep refining that project and taking it out into different areas and using grant funding to test those new iterations of previous programs, working with slightly different groups or different geographical areas or in a slightly different way. I know from conversations that you've actually got funding for a pilot program that you've tested with some young women with mental health issues, but to further work from that, it's about kind of looking at what your outcomes were intended to be, really what went wrong, what could have been better, and that will help you to figure out what the new iteration of your programme will be. I think one of the key things as well is take all of the learning that you've had from the last 5 years, because although you might not feel like you're at this stage to scale, you've tested such a huge amount and you've got so much learning under your belt that it's really important that you acknowledge that and you see that as a massive strength and use that to help push you forward. So looking at kind of future grant programs, one of the things that I previously didn't do, but we've put into place now, is making sure that we fully fund all of the initial kind of admin costs. So making sure there's enough money for my time or the programme leader's time to go and set up those meetings, to get young people on board, to co-produce the programmes and have those focus groups really to fully understand how you need to develop that programme, and try and kind of address those barriers before they even come up. All of that kind of stuff we never really put into our grant proposals before, as well as all of the kind of social impact measurement towards the end. It's hugely time consuming but very, very important to do. So based on your previous programmes that you've run, though you might not still be doing those, you will have a really good indication of the amount of time that you not only spent measuring that impact, but actually the time that you spent organising those meetings, writing up those notes, creating that final report, because you need to make sure that the entirety of your time is being paid for within those applications when you do put them through. So also for us, during that time, I'd say for us it was probably about kind of a similar time, kind of 3 to 5 years. We were kind of testing, the product had been tested and we had a really good market for it. We were looking for new markets. We were further refining the Macaroons That Make a Difference programme. We'd piloted a new programme that was part of a consortium, so we were kind of testing new ways of working with other organisations that might be able to help us grow. But at that time, it was really about understanding how I might be holding the growth back. So for me, it's only very recently, in the past kind of 1 or 2 years, that I've become more comfortable with asking for help. So we've got a fantastic board and lots of supporters. And it's really important that you use those good relationships that you've built up, that fantastic goodwill around your brand and your training programs that you run, and make sure that you ask for help in a meaningful way. So for me, I would often get offered some time with a mentor or somebody that supported our trainees. But I feel really uncomfortable asking them to kind of then follow up and do more stuff that they would absolutely be happy to do. So I think it's kind of understanding what your own personal barriers are that might be stopping the business moving forward. That can be quite difficult to do by yourself. So if you've got a mentoring relationship with somebody else, or know another social entrepreneur or social enterprise support organisation, sometimes it can be really good just to get that third party perspective to say, our organisations are completely different, but when you do this, then actually what would help you grow is by doing X, Y and Z, and you need somebody that knows you quite well and knows your business relatively well to be able to give you that third party kind of objective view of what might be holding you back, and just be really open to that. When somebody first challenged me on it, they said that they wouldn't offer if they weren't happy to do it, and I had to keep telling myself that and realise that actually it was my own issue, and that was really stopping me from getting all the support that I needed. And because of that kind of support, then we've really grown such a huge amount, and that there's a lot of organisations that do offer pro bono support, but really leveraging that is through the relationships with those people, and being comfortable asking those questions that might for you seem like such a huge ask, but because it's a completely different sector and they're working at a relatively high level, then it's very, very easy for them to either do it quickly themselves or put one of their more junior team members on it. That could be a professional development opportunity for them too. So there are other organisations out there that can tell you more around the different grant funds out there. There's also loan options, which it sounds like isn't the right opportunity for you at the moment, but the sector is continually changing. So although social investors do need to make a return, they can make a much more modest return, and we're lobbying different organisations at the moment to have interest-free loans. So you give all the money back, and they end up with the same amount, but they also get a lot of social impact based on that. So it helps the social impact organisation grow. It helps the social investor to keep investing in other organisations, but it does it in a way that helps everybody kind of involved as well. So hopefully that helps. It is a difficult time, and there are lots of support organisations out there. And the great thing about social enterprise is that social entrepreneurs are really, really supportive. So, definitely reach out to a couple of social entrepreneurs within your network and just see if they can spend some time giving you a little bit of support, because sometimes it's just the talking through that really helps. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week for Social Enterprise Q&A.
Melanie at Devenishgirl has asked, what funding is there for social enterprises who are out of the startup phase but not quite ready to scale to fund the transition to become sustainable?
Okay, well, there is lots of funding available for social enterprises. For example, BCRS, we're a community development finance institution, and we do fund social enterprises. What we'd look at is the loan serviceable? So that's the key thing that any lender will look at. So you want to borrow 10, 50, 100, 150,000 plus. What's actually realistic, that makes sense in the business plan, but also can show you've got the income stream, or you've got grant funding, however your income is created, that can actually service that loan for the period of the loan. So if it's a 3-year loan, you can see that your forecasts enable that, then it's much more likely that a lender will be able to give you a positive decision.
Hi, my name is Melanie Mills and I'm Social Sector Engagement Director at Big Society Capital. Today's questionnaire is all about what finance or funding is available for social enterprises once they're past the start-up phase but they're not quite fully sustainable. So it's probably a good place to start the difference between grants and repayable finance. Grants being great at piloting or testing ideas, but often quite challenging to use as sustainable or core funding to perhaps scale or grow your organisation. Social investment, you need to be able to demonstrate what your product or service is, where you're going to get the money from to repay the loan. But a great example might be that in order to do that, you need to increase your capacity, either in the form of perhaps more people. So let's say you need a marketing person that can help tell the world about your product so you get more orders. Or it could be in the form of assets. So let's say you're Rosie at Miss Macaroon and you want to double up the amount of macaroons you can make in a day. Maybe you need to invest in some new mixers. Then this is where social investment could be relevant. I wanted to let you know about a relatively new product called Blended Capital, because this is a great product for organisations that are maybe entering into the world of social investment for the first time and thinking about taking on a loan. It's part grant and part loan, all from the same supplier, the same investor. The biggest supplier of this type of capital is the Access Foundation via their Growth Fund, and you can find a full list of Growth Fund providers on goodfinance.org.uk. We know that navigating the world of social investment isn't easy. It's not your day job after all. And that's why we've worked with Social Enterprise UK, Locality and NCBO to bring you Good Finance. So whether you are just merely at the beginning of your journey and want to find out whether it's relevant for you, or whether you want to get to the nub of it and find the social investors who could potentially lend you money, hopefully Good Finance is a great place to start.